So first of all, I know it's hard. Shh. Baruch Hashem, we grew out as a family, and it's not easy to get everyone in one room, but somehow, Baruch Hashem, we did it. And I'm grateful to everyone for being here tonight. I know that Grandma is getting a lot of nachat in Gan Eden and tonight, which is to say a small little, Devat Torah, to give her neshama an even bigger boost. Before I do that, I want to say thank you to everyone who participated in contributing in the cooking of all the food and the desserts. You all deserve a tremendous, clap and hakarat tov. So thank you. Thank you to my dear wife, to my daughters, to my nieces, to all the wonderful people who made this happen. You know what? You could go either two ways with this. You can have something like this. You can have chiffon cake tomorrow with a little l'chaim. I thought this was a little bit more, deserving for Grandma to be able to, her first yortzeit, that we should be able to celebrate it in a more, substantial fashion. So typically when I do a siyum for my father, it would be more of a mesechet on Gemara. But this year, I was inspired to do something else, and I'll tell you what my inspiration was. I got a text. I got a text from someone named Monique. If you're out there, it's great. She's from LA. And she said that I was told that I need to speak to you. She lives in Los Angeles, and she went on a Project Birthright trip. She's 42 years old and she's divorced. And she said that when she got to Israel, it was her first connection to Judaism in her entire life. And on the way back, she got on the plane. They had taken her and other people like her, divorced people. Normally, Project Birthright is for collegiate age singles, but now they're opening it up to older people, to couples, to divorced people. So this is the first time she connected to Judaism. Let me just give you a little bit of a background. Her mother was in Auschwitz, and she basically snapped, and she married a goy, and she had two daughters. One of the daughters was her mother. And because the mother was incapable of taking care of her two daughters, they were put in an orphanage in Chicago. Her mother married another goy and had her. She then basically somehow made it out to California, where she met got involved with a Christian sect. And she said to me that she took a job for someone in a bakery in LA. And the guy took notice that she was a very good worker. And she said to her, you know what? I'm going to be your angel investor. I'm going to give you $150,000, and you're going to open you're going to open your own salon. She was going to, at night, hi Shai. She was going to become, hello Shai, Mastery Brothers, welcome. Anyway, she was going to become a cosmetologist, right? To do nails and hair, etc. She ended up marrying this guy who was from a Christian sect. And so she said to me, when you see me on WhatsApp video, don't be shocked. Ladies and gentlemen, she was marked up in tattoos from top to bottom. But what really got me, she said, look at my fingers. Every one of her fingers had a tattoo of a cross. And I said to her, how can I help you? She said, I want to get married to a Jew. So I said, okay, interesting. What do you know about Judaism? Not much. I'll never forget, it was 4 o'clock in the morning, and on WhatsApp, I took screenshots of Modeh Ani. I said, don't worry about a husband right now. Let's get you connected. That's the first and most important thing. You need to start learning how to do basic things, like morning blessings, things like that. P.S. I spoke to her last week. She's now fully Shomer Shabbat. Fully, 100%. And took her two kids out of public school, and now they're in Chabad school. So then that led me to think, what made her fall for Christianity? And the answer is that most of our enemies go to one sefer called Yeshaya. And in that sefer, they find complaints against Am Yisrael that they use against us, because there the Navi goes hard on us for some of the sins that we've done. So I said to myself, since I see these kind of people here and there, I need to really tackle this sefer. I bought it in 2014. It was too complicated for me. I could not do it. I was teaching a class at the time in Yeshiva Ruach HaTorah, and when we got to Yeshaya, that's where I quit. I did Shoftim, I did Yehoshua with them, I did Malachim, I did Shemuel Aleph and Bet, but that was too difficult. This time around, it was a whole different picture. I was ready, Joey, I was ready for this sefer. Ready. I spent 5 months with it because I needed to understand what's inside that sefer and what is its message and what does Hashem want us to learn from there. So, a little bit of the history. And the history comes from my Rabbi, Avigdor Miller, who taught us, he has a 3-volume book on a whole set on Jewish history. But this is what happened. I'm going to take you through it quickly. Shlomo had a son named Havam. He inherited a kingdom that was fabulously wealthy. But his father, because of who he was, took in a lot of tax money and a lot of tribute from all the countries of the world. They wanted to be able to appease Shlomo. Rechavam was not on that level at all. Rechavam didn't have his father's skills, but the tax base was very high, and the people complained, and they said, we can't handle this, the tax base is too high. So he said to them, sorry, you better pay. If my father would strike you with reeds, I'm going to hit you with sticks. That led to the kingdom of Am Yisrael splitting into Yehuda, which is in the south, and then we have Malchut Yisrael in the north. Yeravam ben Nevat, who was from Ephraim, saw an opportunity. He wanted to be a king, and he made himself king. The problem is, he needed to create a religion in order to be able to have people follow him. So he set up, Avodah Zarah, and he forced the people to be able to bow down to Avodah Zarah. This Malchut of Yisrael, the kingdom of the north, was corrupt. Very corrupt. Many kings would kill and assassinate others in order to achieve power. Ultimately, it got to the point where they even made a deal with their neighbor in Jordan, which is to the east, to attack their fellow Jews in Malchut Yehuda. Hashem said, enough's enough. I've had it with this kingdom. It's over. And then what happens? Assyria at the time, which would become the kingdom that Sancheriv, which I'm going to get into a little bit, would take over, goes in, and they have one interesting military tactic. We come into an area, we take out the local population, and what we do is we set you up somewhere else so that you can never rebel against us. That is, ladies and gentlemen, the lowest 10 tribes. They're gone. We don't know who they are. So that leads me to the saga, what I want to talk about tonight. And that is Chizkiyahu. Before we get into Chizkiyahu, let's just tell you about his father, King Ahaz. King Ahaz was from the Davidic dynasty. Unfortunately, he was a Rasha Merusha. They couldn't get worse. He locked up the Beit HaMikdash. And the parts that he kept open, he installed Avodah Zarah. He was terrible. He promoted all types of idolatry, even sacrificing your children for Avodah Zarah. The man was evil. When he died and his son took power, they took his body and they tied it to a horse and they dragged his body around all of Yerushalayim, just so that his son would have said, I'm dissociated from this man. Chizkiyahu becomes king. Chizkiyahu was the complete opposite. Under Chizkiyahu there would be a rebirth of Judaism, a rebirth of Yiddishkeit. He would open up Batei Midrashim throughout the country. They say in the time of Chizkiyahu, every child could tell you the laws of Tumam Tahara, things that a Gadol today doesn't know. Every kid on the street knew. Then comes the pivotal night. Sancheriv, who was at the time the warlord of the Middle East and the world at large, he's conquering every country. He took down the Malchut of Yisrael in the north. Now it's time to go and besiege Yerushalayim. And so he does. He besieges Yerushalayim. Chizkiyahu says, there's no hope here other than one thing. Got to pray to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Outside, one commentary says there was 180,000 men. One commentator says the 3.2 million men. And he goes to the Beit HaMikdash and he says to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I was with you. I rejuvenated Torah. Before me, look at what my father did. It was a Rasha and his father was a Rasha. Every kid was learning Torah. There was a sword hanging at the entrance of every Beit Midrash in Israel. You didn't come to night Seder, you were cooked. Hashem help. And at night, a huge miracle takes place. The angel of death goes right through the whole camp of Sanherib, wipes out the whole Sanherib and his entire force. The next day, everyone's dead for but 10 people. And Sanherib was alive. He goes back to his country, an absolute failure. And his sons end up killing him. Chazal teach us that Chizkiyahu had incredible potential, so great that the Gemara tells us he should have been Mashiach. Because Mashiach, the recipe for Mashiach calls for Mashiach and Gog and Magog. Sancheriv fit the role perfectly for Gog and Magog. The enemy that was powerful, that was that was armed, he had it all. What happened? Why didn't Chizkiyahu earn that right to be Mashiach? What did he do? Again, let's just recap it. He restored Torah learning throughout the land to the point where they were all fluent in Torah. And the Gemara says, Chizkiyahu did not say Shirah. He didn't sing a song of praise to Hashem after the miracle. Moshe Rabbeinu did, Devorah Nevi'ah did, David HaMelech all responded to miracles with song, but he didn't sing. It wasn't a small oversight. Mashiach is meant to lead the world to recognize Hashem not only through righteousness but through gratitude. So what happened? Was Chizkiyahu stupid? No. Sfas Emes says something fascinating. He was so strong in his emunah that Chizkiyahu, lifting your finger and 180,000 people getting wiped out are all the same thing. Everything is a miracle. But no, Chizkiyahu, you could have raised the people by having publicized the miracle. Why didn't you raise the people? That's Mashiach's responsibility. A Kiddush Hashem took place. Where were you? Why didn't you speak up? Gratitude is the only way to be able to demonstrate that. I think I want to share two incredible stories on gratitude. One of my Rabbis, Rav Shalom Arush, published a book, Say Thank You and See Miracles. There are two stories in there that are absolute classics. Two people get married. One of them was from his kollel in Yerushalayim. He didn't tell the girl that he's incapable of having children. He was embarrassed. He was afraid that if he tells the person that he's dating that he can't have children, no one will marry him. So he marries the girl. But guess what? She's suffering from the same condition. And she was embarrassed to tell him that she was infertile, couldn't have kids. And now they get married and you can't hide anymore. And they're married and nothing's going. No kids. They go to all the doctors in Israel, in Ekedim, by Hadassah, and they said, there's no hope. So they make it to Rav Shalom Arush, and he says, what can I tell you? The only way out of this is gratitude. Take 15 minutes every day and say, thank you, Hashem, that we don't have children. Just do this for 30 days. What do you got to lose? And he did it every day for 30 days. Accept your destiny. And for 30 days, both he and his wife said, thank you, Hashem, we're infertile and we can't have kids. And B'li Ayin Hara, today they are the parents of 3 children. Wow. 2 people that could never have children. This next story involves a person who had a stall in Machane Yehuda. He was doing extremely well, making tons of money. When one day a person opened a stall across the little space, selling the exact same merchandise and 20% less. So this guy who was raking it in now sees his profits going down and going down and going down. So he happens to have a connection to Rabbi Shmueli, the big Mikubal. He walks up to him, he says, you know I'm a Baal Tshuva, Rabbi. אתה מכיר שאני בעל תשובה, כן. הוא לא מכיר שאני הייתי במאפיה. This guy doesn't know that I was in the mafia. And if I wasn't a Baal Tshuva, I would have taken a gun to his head and blown his brains out for what he did to me. What should I do? Every day, my profits are receding and receding and receding. So Rabbi Shmuel says, say thank you for your problem. I want you to do me a favor. Close the store. What do you mean? This is my parnasah. Close the store. It's not worth it. Go open up somewhere on the side of Me'as Sharim. You won't make that as much money, but you'll live a life that you're content. So against his desire, he closed the store. And he went and he opened the store, certainly not with the foot traffic of Machane Yehuda, but he opens the store. Okay, he's not making anywhere near he used to make. Upstairs, there's a little old lady. And he was in, he sold food. Time to time, she'd come down, she was lonely, she'd talk to him. One day, it was January, cold. He wasn't in such a good mood, business wasn't great that day. She comes down, she says, do me a favor, when you finish up and you're getting ready to close your store, come upstairs, I want to see you. No, I'm not in the mood tonight, I'm tired, I want to go home, it's cold, it's raw. No, just do me a favor, I want 15 minutes of your time. Okay, that day he closes the store, he's thinking, should I go up, should I not go up, should I go up, should I go up? He goes up, she goes up to her and says, what, Makore? He says, I never got married. I never got married. And I'm the sole survivor and heir to my uncle. He just sent me $5 million. I'm giving it to you. All I want is one thing. When I pass away, you dedicate a classroom in yeshiva in my name. And he came back to Rabbi Shmuel, he says, I'm ready to dedicate a classroom. The boy said, that's the power of gratitude. It's something enormous. And this is what happened here. Chizkiyahu saw an incredible miracle. But his job as Mashiach was to publicize it, because he would have produced a big Kiddush Hashem. Let me just... Why is that important? Give me a second. I want to... Okay. When something good happens to us and we are makir tov in public, there are various consequences. Number one, like I said, we make a Kiddush Hashem. Two, when we tell the story to others, we strengthen their emunah, which is so critical today. Number three, why is it that when we offer a Korban Todah, do you ever notice, how many loaves do you have to bring to a Korban Todah? 40. Isn't that a crazy amount of loaves? Why would the Torah require 40 loaves for a Korban Todah? You know why? I never knew this until I looked this up today. So that you can have 40 people eat and spread the news of what Hashem did for you. That's so important. Another thing why we want to be able to publicize good that Hashem does for us is to prevent arrogance. Because you might think, you know what? That's why it's important. And this is why Chizkiyahu was so close. He could have earned it. He could have raised the people. He could have boosted their emunah. He could have made a massive Kiddush Hashem. Lastly, there's a disagreement as to when this happened. He becomes sick. So some of the commentators say right before Sanherib besieged the city or right after. Yeshayahu tells him, pack your bags up, it's over. What happened? Famous story. He saw in Ruach HaKodesh, his son ultimately would be Menashe. Menashe would be the worst in terms of Avodah Zarah. He said, why do I need to get married? What's the idea? So I could produce a son that's going to now encourage Avodah Zarah in the world? I'm not going to get married. Yeshayahu comes to talk to him and he says to him, that's not your problem. Rule number one, Hashem's will is Hashem's will. It's not your responsibility to make decisions as to what Hashem's will is and is not. You have a requirement. The first mitzvah of the Torah is to get married. You need to be able to fulfill that mitzvah. You get married. So he gets up and he prays He prays sincerely, he cries. Yeshayahu comes back to him and he says to him, you've been given 15 years of extra life. And he ends up marrying Yeshayahu's daughter. And from there comes Menashe. The word gets out throughout the kingdoms of the world that he had a miraculous recovery. So the king of Babel comes over and says, I gotta see what happened. He makes a second mistake, a horrible mistake. He had a golden opportunity, again, to make a Kiddush Hashem and tell him about the incredible Rifuah Shalema that he had. Instead, he takes him into his private Otsar treasury and shows him all the gold, all the silver, all the jewelry. Yeshayahu comes to him and he says, you had a golden opportunity to show the world that Hashem saved you. And instead, you're showing the gold. And he tells him, for that, your children are going to be led into slavery in Babel when the exile comes. And in his amazing, simple emunah, it says, I accept. If this is what Hashem wants. So we could see that sometimes, and it's a very important lesson, when something good happens to us, we sit on our laurels and we just, we bask in the glory of the success. But that's a golden opportunity to throw it back to Hashem and say, you know what? You did it. And in that kind of situation, you can earn incredible zechut. And that was the big mistake that he made there. Instead of enjoying the luxury of the glory of other kings coming and saying, wow, you're the man. He said, you could have said, no, it was Hashem. He did it. Now, who are we to even think of a smattering of any chizronot that Chizkiyahu had? They said that he served Hashem none like anyone else in the Davidic dynasty. But there's something to be learned here. That is, we have to understand, when something good happens, we have to take the opportunity to thank Hashem, even in public, because that is the reason why we're here, in order to sanctify His name. Lastly, I'm just going to tie it all up. My mother was a quiet woman, and she wasn't a person about fanfare. She was a person who saw her responsibilities in the most serious fashion. Her life was built around her family and her children. All solid Jewish values. She saw to it that we were focused on our education, focused on Torah. I mean, you have to understand something. This is a woman who was the only one who kept Shabbat in her family. Only one. Singularly focused on why she was there and what was her responsibility. That she was going to be the matriarch of a great family. Now, B'lai Hara, I think the numbers tell the story. When a person is focused on why they're there and what their goals are, you see B'lai Hara, the mitziut, the resultant consequences of the family that she produced, which are sitting here tonight. Open the doors.
Now the girls are listening.
Yeah.
Now the ladies are interested.
Don't worry.
Yeah. I'm just saying about how our grandma was singularly focused on her family, singularly focused on ensuring that we were given great education. She was kind, she was warm, she didn't seek the spotlight in any way, but she was like the quintessential Ishat Hayil that supported Grandpa, that gave him the spine to do what he needed to do to build us, to build the family. Hello, Joe. Welcome. Biruchim Abayim. Yeah. And I wanna say that to all the people in the family, Joe included, who learned Torah, you should know that you're 50% partners with Grandma, because she was responsible for doing everything that she could to urge us on to love Torah, to see to its success, to its study, and in the merit of making berachot tonight and living our lives in a most Toradic fashion will bring nachat to her neshama. Thank you for coming. Enjoy the rest of the night. Enjoy dessert. And thank you again. Bye-bye.